just like going back to where like horror film history, and I guess I could just tie it into what a failure Skimmerinkadink is, whatever the hell it's called. It's like the last time we all talked was I finished off with like Frankenstein and Karloff getting big and Lugosi, all their breakout roles, and it's like after that basically there was a couple of sequels here and there, and then by 1937, Universal was bankrupt. Like it got bankrupt because of bad investments and the depression. So things were doing bad. And then finally in August of 1938, this theater owner decided to do a back-to-back marathon of Dracula, Frankenstein, and I think something else. And
wow.
this
cool.
3-day marathon in 1938 in Los Angeles rebooted and rebirthed the entire Universal monster cycle, in that he showed the films for 24 hours for like a week, and it was such an amazing success that even Bela Lugosi came out to like appear as Dracula, because Bela Lugosi was doing bad. He was doing these Bowery Boy kind of like horrors with ape and gorilla suit stuff. I'm sure we've all seen some of those.
Yeah.
So that kind of revamped it all to like bring about the new wave of Universal horror. And it's interesting because, again, there's so much back then, and even like what we grew up with, there's so much more behind a horror story, and like whether it's a movie or it's in fiction. And it's like Kurt Sidomak then comes along in 1941, and he's a guy that was an extra in Fritz Lang's Metropolis and had worked on a bunch of movies for Germany. And he basically is someone that was basically fled World War II during Nazi Germany. And I think at some point he was even asked to work on some of those Hitler propaganda movies. But he flees the Holocaust, and he comes up with, which I just is a brand new book I just read, which I knew a little bit about this, but just you really get some quotes from Kurt Sidomak, is that the pentagram and the 5-sided star of Larry Talbot and the werewolf that we know now for 100 years is the myth. That's really based on the yellow star of David and the Jewish marking of basically the Holocaust, of like.
Oh, wow.
Jews having to wear that yellow star, and that was the stamp of death. And he based that whole idea on that the werewolf myth that he came up with, basically, that we know today in werewolf movies, is that the yellow star is a sign of like being cursed as a Jewish person, and that curse you can't escape. And he said something to the likes of like, when the moon comes up, like that's almost like for him, the moon was a metaphor of when someone discovers you're Jewish during the Holocaust in World War II, and suddenly you're cursed and you're damned to death. And that's what he was getting at with the metaphor of the werewolf. And it's just mind-blowing to find that out now.
I never knew that. That's incredible. Wow.
Exactly. And it's like there's just so much more of a commentative, like, real humanistic like message there.
And I'm assuming that it all ties in with the German folklore of like the hounds of hell and all that, these demonic dogs and things, because that's a German folklore story, if you go to sleep, the hounds of hell, and I don't know what the word is. It's like ick looking dugga or whatever. I can't say it, but it's something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I know a lot more about German history than I should, but yeah. Oh cool. My God. No. That is so creepy. Yeah. They did. There's this one really old movie, you'll know it, the silent film that they've done. You know what I'm talking about. I can't remember the name of it. It is so effing crazy. It's a silent film. It's German. They look like, oh my God, it's so creepy. The Cabinet of
Dr. Caligari, yeah.
Yes, I just watched that. What the F, creepy. Now, see, that to me is terrifying. And think about, that next to Skinnamarinky-Doo.
I'm
just saying, like they were working with so much little, and there was a war going on, and they managed to get that, so, and a depression and a ration of food, and yet that masterpiece came out.
Yeah, it's like the Cabinet talking about Dr. Caligari, which I mentioned a little bit before. It's the guy who wrote that was Robert S. Wine directed it. Hans Janowitz wrote that because he had seen a murder happen in the park across from his street. He had seen someone go into the bushes, this tall guy in a whatever, and following a girl. He heard a scream, and then the guy came out of the bushes and he walked away. And so that was part of traumatizing him. So he wrote that script, and then I think it's Robert S. Wine directs it. And yeah, there's so much to that. And again, there's the impressionistic sets that are kind of like Cubist and Picasso, and there's just so much going on in that that again, like unlike Skimmerink-a-Dink, whatever the hell, it's
Right.
like
Right.
that these people writing and directing it are working through their own fears, and they put it into that script and the direction. And then it's also, a commentary on, again, like you said, World War One, and like I mentioned in the last one, like 1921, I think it's 1920 and 1922 in March or April in Los Angeles. The American some union marches down to one of the theaters in LA in protest of that film because it's an anti-German part of our history with World War One's raging, and this riot breaks out, protesting Cabinet of Dr. Caligari showing, and people are killed. Like, people are killed during this riot, where Los Angeles police has to come out and stop it. And it's like there's just so much more levels to horror back then that are creating this,
which is
like,
probably what
dialogue we
made it
have.
so good, because it was so, border on the realism of everyday life, and everyday life wasn't polished, squeaky clean like it is now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We didn't have a bunch of kids going, my anxiety and depression are acting up,
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, so after that Kurt Siodmak does Wolfman, he rebirths the whole monster cycle of Universal. They have like House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula. It finally dies out with Abbott and Costello. So Karloff then is kind of like, he's been done with the monster shit for a while. He doesn't want to do it. So that's where he meets Val Lewton. And Val Lewton is one of the directors that's now taken over RKO Studios. And RKO is basically this small fledgling studio. And I forget the executive producer, but the producer says, we're going to give you, Val Lewton, $150,000 a picture. Do whatever you want. Make something cheap and whatever. So one of the first films that he makes, Val Lewton, is with Jacques Tourneur, and that's Cat People.
And, I love Cat People. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like a significant shift in horror filmmaking in the 40s, because it goes away from the monsters and all this stuff that has its roots in Gothic literature, but it becomes now more psychological. And it's really like, if there's no Val Lewton, there's really no A24 today. There's none of these films that are kind of horror supernatural but are trying to be serious, and there's no Exorcist. Like, Val Lewton's really the guy that really creates that, says, let's start making horror more adult, and even it's Gothic. And then from there, he does, I think Jacques Tourneur does The Leopard Woman. Then he does I Walk with a Zombie.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great one.
He just basically changes horror as we know it from the 40s to 1950. And again, then Karloff agrees to star in The Body Snatcher. And that's really like his own rebirth. And The Body Snatcher is based on a Robert Louis Stevenson story. And it's based on, I think, Burke and Hare. And, that's the movie that gives Karloff this whole new rebirth as like a very respectful actor. Even if he's doing horror, the material is so much better. And Karloff, again, it changes his career after the Frankenstein cycle. And then from there, again, Val Lewton does films like Isle of the Dead, which is based on a painting. And Karloff is in there. It's the first, new version of a vampire. I think they call it Verloc, whatever. The vampire name that they come up in that film, we've seen in a lot of movies since. And then he does Bedlam, which is about, I think, the real life story of insane asylums in the 1890s, the turn of the century. And then The Seventh Victim is like a Fincher movie. And it's an amazing movie if anyone hasn't seen it. It's very creepy.
I've seen it. Yeah, it's very creepy.
It's just it's so dark, and it's about, it's saying to many, it's great as a story in horror and Gothic, but it's showing you the village in the 1940s of what was going on there. The East Village in New York City was a lot of spiritualism and mediums, and there's a lot of different waves of thought.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a creepy movie. I've not seen that in such a long time too. I remember after I saw it, I needed to take a walk to get over it. You know what I mean? I needed to go see some sunshine and remind myself the world was out there and okay, because it's leaves you with such a heavy feeling. But that to me is a great horror movie. That to me is what horror movies are all about. You're bothered by it for a hot minute, and it takes you a minute to recover from it. That to me is what makes it great, And you got to say, a lot of these guys who did these movies, they had real suffering to put behind it. Like you just said, the guy witnessing the murder was motivation to do this nightmarish movie. And that to me is what makes it so authentic and genuine. And that's what I love about him. You know what I mean? That's why there's so much more, I don't want to say emotion, but just balls to it, I guess. You know what I mean?
You're right.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, that stupid Deep House movie. It's there's the Ryan Gosling movie. I don't know if you've seen it, Lost River.
No, I haven't seen it. I've heard about it though.
Oh, you might. I just watched it again, and it's incredible for his
Is it
first
scary?
movie.
It's a scary movie?
There's some sick. There's some great horror. I don't know if it's say scary, but he does a lot. He did his homework, and there's a lot of good horror references. And there's a part
Gotcha.
where like the lead guy starts diving underwater into these sunken houses, and it sounds like it's like Gosling with his directors. It makes it so much more creepy and scarier than that movie you said you just saw because there's just more layers to it, and it's very much more like a Werner Herzog movie meets Nicholas Winding Refn, who did
Oh, well,
Drive
then
and
I'd like
Valhalla
that then. Yeah.
Rising.
I would like that
So
then.
I
Yeah.
think you would like. There's some incredible things that Gosling does, a director, that like knowing the AD side and the production side, like that. It's amazing what he pulls off, and it's just again, there's some just creepy, weird stuff. I'm gonna call it a horror movie, but it again, you could again see that Gosling did his research. Like he put some effort to say, I want to point out this part, and there's a whole part of the whole plot with Eva Mendes, who's like now his wife and mother of his kid,
Oh,
which
wow.
is the whole part of like there's this part where there's a Grand Guignol type of thing going on in this town, and the Grand Guignol, like we've talked about, is like that's where horror came from in the 1890s. It was that stage and theater in Paris that created horror plays that we've all taken our like leads from. And he does like there's this whole plot with the Grand Guignol that Eva Mendes is a part of, and she dies on stage every night. Like it's just like again, there's just like even if you hate it, this guy did his research. Like he studied films and he studied horror history to do these wink and nods that it's like again better than half the crap coming out now.
Yeah, well, I love that. I'm all about it because I'm not liking these horror movies. Like I said, nobody needs a thinking man zombie movie. You know what I mean? Like that was ridiculous. And I want to throw one out there that is so utterly disgusting. Like usually for me, disgusting movies I can deal with. So I'm like, no big deal. I have a rock hard stomach, so not a big deal. I've watched all kind of disturbing, not a big deal. This movie, like it, and I told Aaron because he loves graphic, gross movies, and I'm like, you got to check it out. But it's like called A Very Strange Night, and let me
Okay.
just tell you, okay, so this movie, within the first 5 minutes, we're like not even through the beginning, intro of like starring, produced by, you see a guy rape a corpse, okay, turn into a zombie, and then rape another woman, and then eat out her vajay, and then go on a STD, sex crazed zombie murder spree. And I was like, usually I'd be all about it, but I was just like, this is so gross. It was so gross in so many scenes. I mean, like I could deal with the Vijay eating the scene, like he literally rips it out, uterus and all, and just like eats it like an apple. And I was like, oh, that's creative. I've never seen that before. But then he ate a tampon. And that, my friend, put me over the edge. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Where the fuck are we going with this movie? Where the F are we going with this movie? Then they made the zombie thing an STD, which I thought was effing hilarious. So all the hoary girls were like, what's wrong with me? Because I'm a whore, I'm now a zombie. It was great. It was great. At the end of it, I'm sure it was like some kind of like, and that will teach you girls to be whores, You'll become a sex crazed zombie because like literally all the girls got it horrible. They were like, maybe I'll sleep with this guy. He's a little smelly and he looks like his skin's falling off, but And then they're like, my vajay's rotting. Like, seriously, it was the stupidest goddamn movie. And I'm just like, ah. And you could tell some man wrote it because there were so many like period references and stuff like
Oh
that. And
man.
anyway, yeah. So yeah, I just had to throw that out there. Disgusting movie. I've been so traumatized this last month with my overload of shitty horror movies. So I watched so many of them and I'm so pissed off because I didn't like any of them. There's like not one that I looked at and was like, oh, this was good. This was good. Except for Fire in the Sky. And like that's from what, 1989? But like, there's not been one. I saw Megan. I effing hated that.
That
Like
looks horrible. I mean, I don't give a
if
shit.
you
I mean,
saw
I
the
just
preview,
didn't care.
you saw the whole movie. Like
That's what
that's
it
it.
looked
I
like, and
mean,
I'm like, what? Like, I don't know. Like, again,
it wasn't scary. It wasn't gory. The plot wasn't. I mean, pretty much you know exactly what's going to happen. I will
yeah,
say this: the acting was good. The little
yeah.
girl, I wanted to smack the shit out this kid in this movie. I wanted to Bernie Mac her ass. I mean, but she played the role so well. That's how you know she played the role well. And the other girl who plays the adult that's so stressed out taking care of her, it's all well done. But we all know, like, if you bring home any kind of fucking robot into your house, it's not going to end well like that, or you have a creepy scenario like the 80s show Small Wonders. Like, why the fuck did you have a robot go in
That's
your house?
true. That's right. That
Yeah,
was a
and
good.
she was home alone all day, God knows what was going on. I don't trust it, don't like it. Did I now chase off Elliot? Did I
No,
chase
no,
off
no.
Elliot?
Sorry, my laptop. I need energy. I need power for it. But I don't know. Like, yeah, it's weird because there's so much stuff out there now. Again, I'm trying to, get my horror movie that I got a weird contract for years ago when I didn't know better and I just wanted anything. So it's like you said today, Tubi. I'm like, this
I love
distributor's
Tubi.
talking about getting it onto Tubi. I'm like, is that going to help? I don't care. I just want my horror movie to be seen because I put much more into it than Skimmerinkadink did. And but it's like you said, it's like I don't know. It's like the grand. If anyone ever asked me or whatever on this show, whatever, it's like the horror that I like is like somebody once said to me, like I think maybe it was before I even made Season in Hell, my horror movie, or anyone. Somebody once said like shock without purpose is kind of pointless, and I think that's been kind of lost in the 21st century, where shock had a purpose in the 20th century of horror movies, and the greats that we all love and we celebrate and that inspire us as filmmakers. I think they all knew like if we're gonna do this, there's a reason for it. And
right.
I think today from Skimmerinkadink to all these movies, like you're saying, it's like, oh, let's just do this fucked up thing, and that's great. And then I think like with so many of these films, they don't even have a second act or a third act of the script.
No.
They just have, if I can get them in the first 30 minutes, I get distribution, I get into a horror festival, and then it could be like, I'll pretend that there's a message, but there's nothing there. And I think that's such a big part of like what's plaguing why I hate horror movies lately, and you do. I think like there's no thought behind the shock. There's no really reason for it. Doesn't connect to the rest of the story. Right. There's no layers. And then there's no like the third act, like catharsis is one of the most important parts of writing. Like catharsis is like such a huge trope that once I learned about it at 16 years old, it's like it's just like that's such a big part of horror in itself. Of like The Hills Have Eyes, the original, and even like the remake, the catharsis of having that family turn into monsters that they're fighting, but then they get that revenge. So you feel that revenge, you get that satisfaction, and then there's the disturbing part of like, wow, I've just changed. I've become a monster along with this family, and I've become just as bad as them and just as bad as the monsters. But there's like that emotional catharsis again. There's like a release. There's like a cycle, and there's a climax.
The moral to the story,
there's nothing. Yeah. There's no climaxes. That, like you said, that fucking movie Deep House. She just dies. What's the point of that?
Like, I know. I kept waiting
have
for
a meaning
to
why.
Kind of point. Yeah, it was all too obvious. Yeah, it was really obvious, really stupid. I didn't get any of it. It pissed me off. Like I said, yeah. And I don't know if we're ever going to get that way with horror movies back, because now they're trying to be so disturbing, and even the disturbing ones are just kind of crappy because they're trying so hard to disturb you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, look at movies like, Serbian film. Like, Serbian film, when I first saw that, I was just like, I knew what I was getting into. I knew it was going to be disturbing, and I was like, well, there it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's just some producer out there doing something for the sake of sensationalism. And was it disturbing? Yes, it was totally disturbing. Was it good? Fuck no. Like, no, it's not good. It's a horrible movie. It's a goddamn awful movie. And if you sit there and you're like, I think it's a great movie, something fucking wrong with you. I'm just saying the guy did it because he knew people were going to get disturbed and freaked out. Like Henry Portrait of. Now, I will say Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer.
You love that. I know you love
a movie, and I do because I met the guy.
I can't bring myself. I was just too scared of it at 17 years old.
I love it, and like when I met the guy, it was so funny because it was during his Walking Dead days, and I knew him from that. So I'm like, I know you from Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, and he was like, what? I didn't know a girl like you, and I was like, oh honey, you don't even know it. Like me, a girl like me, yeah, I know you from Henry. Decapitation scene. I was there, my friend. Yeah, I loved him. He was great. Yeah, I should have met him in his hotel room. He invited me. I should have gone, but live and learn, right? Live and learn. What's it, but
wow.
I'm glad we had this talk, Elliot.
Yeah, we all said a lot for Aaron to he's got a lot of editing to do. He's got a lot of like themes. We ripped a lot of themes, a lot of films.
Okay, but like last though, do you have a favorite alien movie? Because mine, hands down, the scariest one for me. I've got two. It's going to be Communion first, and probably the fourth kind, Those two are the ones that I
That
think
is
are
a good movie.
terrifying.
I gotta
I thought
say,
that
I
was
saw
effing
that.
terrifying. Yeah, the ending of it, I was
That's
like,
a
oh shit,
with
yeah.
Kerry Russell. Is that the
Yes,
one with
yes.
Kerry Russell?
I think it
That is
is,
an
yeah.
incredibly well done movie that does not
It
get
is. It doesn't
enough.
get him enough
Like
credit. Yeah.
that was a scary movie, and it really like it did its homework with UFOs and alien mythology, and that is J.K. Simmons is in it, right? Isn't he
Yeah,
the
I think
guy
so. Yeah, I
that
think he
gives
plays
them
it.
like that is like definitely one of the best alien
So
movies.
what's your favorite alien movie then? Which you're like, oh, and we got aliens. We're not even thinking about Sigourney Weaver and alien shit. But those
Yeah,
are
no, I
those are
love
the
that movie.
OGs. Those are the OGs. Yeah, we everybody likes those. Yeah,
I
but for me, it's got to be my top two: Communion and The Fourth Kind.
I don't know. It's weird because like there's the movie that really fucked me up as a kid that I went back and watched. That still, the art of it is Invader from Mars. Like that, the original one from the 50s
Oh,
really is still
yeah.
so. I just rewatched it again, and as a kid, and my mom was crazy. A lot of
Mine too.
I had a
Mine
really
too.
insane childhood, and but like in the movie, the original one, basically like these aliens come and then they start taking over the town and replacing them, and the mother goes from like being loving to like the kid figures out that the mother's like an alien because she starts acting cold, and there's like marks on her neck that let him know that she's an alien. Like it just
Are
was
they
so
eating
terrible.
frogs? Do they eat frogs? Am I right? Do they eat frogs at some point? Am I right on that, or is that the '80s version? Did they remake it in the '80s? And no,
They
I'm
did.
thinking.
Tobe Hooper remade
Yeah,
it.
I think I'm thinking of the
That,
one because I think I remember that because the marks on the neck, and it's like
yeah,
by the end of it, everybody's a fucking alien but him, right? And he's like, "What do I do?" Like something like
yeah.
that.
I never saw the Tobe Hooper. If I'm, I just mess up his name, but yeah, I never saw the remake. But the original is still like I just saw recently, and it is just so creepy and well done. Like I still think like it still holds up, and it gets even the creature effects towards the end when they reveal stuff. It's just done in such a creepy way that even towards the end, and I think even Scorsese said this. He noted it in one of his books on film. Like you still at the end think like, is this a dream? Is the kid dreaming that it's all
Right.
ended happily, and maybe he really got taken by the like? It's just very very well done, and it's very that might be one of the most my favorite ones of like in
I
terms of
think I've seen that. Yeah, I think what I saw. I think I saw the '80s remake because
yeah.
it's like one of those things where he thinks he wakes up and everything's normal, and then it's not. It's like, oh no, the aliens are here, everything is
Yeah.
real, and you're fucked. Yeah. Oh god, that's terrible. Yeah, what a horrible thing. Can you imagine? Oh my god, that's terrible. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
That and wait, the OG Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Donald Sutherland.
yeah, I think that like when that
I
and
watched
like
that way too young. Yeah, I watched it. You do a really good impersonation of that. I watched
my
that
friend Kevin Love
way too young.
like that shit. I've drawn that picture a million times. Me and the Healy brothers, we both like that last
That
shot.
was great.
But
I
yeah,
love
yeah,
it.
I
I
think
love
yeah, in
it.
terms of like I think that might be like top three. The Donald Sutherland one is so fucking creepy and scary.
Oh
See
my
that as a
god,
kid
yeah.
on Channel 11 to see like the weird chopped up where like the dog has the face of a hippie. Like
Yeah.
it's just some weird shit, man. That really creeped me out as a kid. I was like, what is this movie? Like, what is going on? Like, this is not the 1950s version. Like, there's some
No, and you
deeper.
keep getting that like building feeling of like isolation and
Yeah.
just like who can you trust? That's the thing that like I was struggling with. The whole thing is like who do you trust? Like that is just yeah, it's so scary. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah. I
the
think,
whole alien thing scares the f out of me because I don't understand it. I don't know it. Like they said in the news just recently, Russia shot down a
yep.
UFO. You know
Yeah, I
what I
saw
mean?
that.
So like apparently, and like they have all these sightings now. Okay, they had the one. Did you see the one over the Sapphire Strip Club in Vegas? It was
No.
hilarious. No, this is brilliant. It was a marketing scheme.
Um,
They literally put lights above the club and they had all these people do these social media things going, there's aliens. And like the strippers,
wow.
like, my name's Barbie and I strip at Sapphires and I think there's a UFO. And like they pan up and there's a UFO there. And she's like, and I'm dancing from 8 to 9, like
Oh
literally
my
that's what it was. But it
God.
was the best marketing scheme I've ever seen in my life. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
We've got
good.
aliens above our strip club, folks. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think that Independence Day, like that is definitely. I love the cheese, whatever. I mean,
It's cheesy. Yeah, I
it
like
still
it.
like holds up though today. There's some hardcore shit about Independence Day that is not happening in blockbusters today with like people fucking die. Like the first lady dies. Like
Yeah,
she gets killed. Like a lot of people die in Independence Day. Like you're like, whoa, they just
when
took
the
that person
doctor,
out.
like the lady drops into the hole, yeah, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You
There's
got,
definitely some hardcore stuff to that movie that today, if they made that, they would water it down. Like there's some sick. I mean, that's for me. Like, I mean, that moment of watching that in the theater was like, wow, this is insane. Like, that's definitely one of my top favorite alien like sci-fi movies. Like, I mean, I love Alien and Aliens; those are amazing. But like, those came later. Like, my DNA is like Invader from Mars and Independence Day and Communion is definitely creepy as fuck. Like,
Communion's
I remember.
terrifying. Yeah, read the book. If you read books, I know you read books. Read the
Yeah,
book. The book is
I've
creepy.
read a bunch of the Stryber books, and it is pretty scary if he's telling the truth about like
The
this
book
ongoing
made me not want
relationship.
to go in the field that was next to my house for like 3 months. I like would not go out there because I was convinced those aliens that smelled like cardboard were out there. You know what I mean? I was like, nope. Yeah, and then it freaks me out if Travis Walton's story is true, okay? And I think it's got to be because this guy stayed, firm
I
with his
think it is, yeah.
career. Right. Okay. So these people that are up there that he says he sees with the eyes, he says that they talk normal, they look normal. Who were these people, right? And then I start to wonder, and I think to myself, are these people who were abducted and like now they work for the alien? I know that's like an insane thought, but like you wonder to yourself these things about like what happens to the people who are quote unquote abducted and stuff like that. Do they go up there and I don't know, live with
That's
aliens?
scary. That's more
Fucking
scary.
terrifying, dude. Yeah, that will be our horror movie when we make our horror movie. Me and
I
Elliot will
think
make the most cool movie ever, man. The most badass, terrifying, disturbing movie y'all ever seen.
I think so. I think we can. Anything's better than Skimmerink-a-Dink.
Skimmerink suck, dude. What the hell? Why were people so? Why are they so upset about it? I don't get it. It just was a little isolating and a little. I was like, keep the fucking camera still. That's what I was, and I was like, is that a person there? What's going on? I get it. And what about these kid actors? Like, what did they tell them? They just wander around. Like stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen.
So nothing. So there's nothing ever shows up. There's no alien, no
No,
demon, nothing.
nothing. No, they just
That's
wander around aimlessly. Yeah, that's all
disgusting.
it really is. They wander around. It's a lot of really creepy camera shots and shadows. There's illusions that there might be somebody lurking in the shadows, but yeah, nothing really. It's just the fact that the kids are stuck there. There's no parents, and it's just on a loop. It seems like. Yeah, it's fucking stupid, dude. It could have been so much better, I think, too.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds like thank God I didn't stay. That sounds horrible.
So that's how we feel about that one.
That's it. And yeah, I guess my last thing to say is there. I think it's still out. There's a website called Fandor, and that's where if you want to see movies from the global community in horror and whatever avant-garde, Fandor at the time I subscribed to it for years when I was broke. Just an amazing glossary of films from like Hammer horror to way better versions of Skimmerink. And I think it's still out there. It's a website, and it's just I lived off of just subscribing to that for years when I was broke. And it's just you can find some popular movies that you've heard of, from Night of the Living Dead to like the most like hardcore avant-garde Indian films, Japanese films, and you can see that there's so many more films out there in the last 50, 60 years that are 10 times better than Skimmerink, that do a much better effect of it, and that are just as that have much better purpose, direction, everything. And again, Fandor, I hope it's still going because it's an incredible website, especially if you're a filmmaker. And they've just got like, you name it, experimental, avant-garde, horror, sci-fi, lesbian, you name it. It's just like it's
you
got
had me at lesbian, yeah.
But
Lesbians.
again,
What?
it's just
Where
like
did I sign up? Yeah. Let's be honest.
I wish people should watch some of the movies on that, and then they'll know what a piece of crap Skimmerink is.
I'm going to go back down the 80s route for my next because I need to cleanse because I've been watching so many more modern and I'm over it. So I need to go refresh myself and my palette. And the one that I was going to text you about it, I think we should do Dead Video next.
What is that? Well,
look it up, my friend. You would like it. It's good. Yeah. I'm sure. I bet you Aaron knows. It's good. It's good. It's an 80s movie. It's a movie where zombies come out of like it's so bizarre. Zombies come out of a TV from a TV show, and they all have personalities, and it's
Wow.
80s and it's fun. Look it up. That's it. Mine made up with that.
Okay, I gotta
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah, look it up,
That-
man. It's
That's
fun. I
what
think
I'll
it's on
do.
Tubi. I'll look tonight. I'll text you and let you know.
Okay, that sounds
Yeah.
good.
And in the meanwhile, let's not get alien abducted or probed in our
Yeah,
asses,
now I'm all
right? I
freaked
wonder
out.
why
Now I'm
they're
all
always
freaked
why
out.
are they always probing the butt though, I wonder. Like
I
what is
don't
up
know.
with that? I
I
don't want
don't
to find
know.
out
Like
either. Yeah. Yeah,
your
I don't want to
your
know.
true crime stuff is scary enough. I can't watch it. I try to watch you. If I hit your clip at 11 o'clock at night, it's a testament to you.
That's so funny you say that because this little content creator, this little he's so sweet. He's a little gay guy. He came and told me I was scary.
You are.
He
Yeah.
said to me, he said, I have a little bit of advice for you. He's like, I think you would grow followers if you weren't so scary. That's what he told me. I'm like, oh my God.
It is amazing because you can do all this other stuff, but when you get in that zone when you're talking true crime, it is I can't handle it. I'm like, it's amazing because I don't think there's anyone else
real,
that
man.
really.
I'm real. What can I say? It's real. It's real. Yeah.
But you're so like, well, you do your research, so you're not just like, blah, blah, blah. Like you're dropping some hardcore facts for everything you talk about, and it brings back Robert Stack on Unsolved Mysteries when I was like 11 years old.
Love Robert Stack. And dude, did not some of those unsolved mysteries scare the shit out of you
Scared
back in
the
the day?
fuck out of me. Like you definitely, you're channeling Robert Stack.
That one about ghost. I can't remember what it was, but it was a Indian ghost, and that one scared the shit out of me, dude. I was like, turn on the lights, lock the doors, somebody get out a crucifix, because Robert Stack just scared the fuck out of me. And also Robert Stack had me terrified of every goddamn white van I ever saw in my life.
Know.
Any stranger who looked at me or my sister twice, I was like, oh, Robert Stack said, watch out. I'm watching out. Him and John Walsh. I was like, hell no. To this day.
But Robert Stack had some fucking evidence though that was like, fuck, dude, that I'll never forget. And I used it in my UFO. I was 15 years old. I did a documentary on UFOs in my T-reduction class. And he had an episode, but they kept playing this footage for the next couple of months. And I wonder what it really was. It was supposed VHS evidence of a UFO in the middle of the woods. And it looked fucking legit. And to this day, I still think about it now. Like, what was that? Like, and
you should find the episode. They have all the episodes on Pluto, and I think on Tubi. You can literally find every Unsolved Mysteries episode. Yeah, I've watched them again and again and again. Yeah, I love it because some of my true crime stuff, I go look up and I'm like, that guy's still missing. Yeah, like I love that stuff. Yeah, you can look them up, like literally.
Yeah, was like, that's what was even scarier about her at 13, 14, it was my high school, 14, 15. What was scary is that the video that was sent to Unsolved Mysteries, somebody sent it to Unsolved Mysteries of this UFO, and they said, like, let us know what you think of this. And it was like
creepy.
Like, to this day, like, what the fuck was it? It looked so legit, and that's what of a UFO sighting. And you're like, what the fuck underground in the 90s? How things used to be.
It was a goddamn alien.
Oh God, I'm done. All right.
All right, it's been fun. We'll get you next time, right? No, yes. Look up Dead Video. We're doing Dead Video next time. I'm going to text you about it. I'm going to text you the trailer so we can go over it because I love it.
Video.
And I think it's been a while since I've seen it, so I think we should go over it. I think you'd like it, though.